All right, today we want to set some norms. These are our priorities for today. We're going to set some norms for our meeting, take a closer look at the elements, and that's actually the name of the document we're going to be using. And we mentioned that in the introductory. It is on Cox campus, so you can search a closer look at elements. We're going to look at the climate cluster. So those are the first three elements. And so we're going to break down each element and make sure that you all are prepared to observe those in at least one of your classrooms or some of your classrooms at the sites that you work. So this is an opportunity to ask any questions because we want to make sure you're prepared to go out and observe and assess these elements. So we're going to prepare you. And then we're going to set next steps and set goals and prepare for next month. All right. All right, so our objectives today are to interact with a closer look at the essential elements document, learn about those climate cluster elements, and discuss ratings and criteria for conducting observations. So we have some videos in here too, so you have an opportunity to kind of do your own little observations as well today. All right, here are our norms. We want to be open-minded and flexible to change. Make sure we step up and also step back, give others the opportunity. So we want to hear your voice, and we also want to give everyone an opportunity to share their comments and questions and to be a part of the discussion. We all want to be present. If you're able to turn on your video, go ahead and turn it on, and you can unmute for some of the questions and conversation, or you can use the chat. So we want to have all ways possible to be present. So we offer the chat, we offer discussions verbally. All right, so respect opinions and communication styles. We all have different ways of communicating. Listen to understand, and then commit yourself to pause and reflect throughout. So we want to make that commitment. Okay, so this is an ecosystem approach developing foundations for language and literacy in the early years, a closer look at the essential elements. This resource is a great accompaniment for the course itself and for the ECM 2.0. So we will be looking at some of the parts of the ECM as well today. So we're going to start with a closer look. And as always, we have these clusters. We have the 9 essential elements. Take a look at the teal colored ones on your left. That's a climate cluster. Those are the ones we're going to focus in on today. Safe and responsive climate, culturally and responsive and preserving environment, and those consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. I see more people coming in, so welcome back. All right, so there they are broken down. Those are the page numbers that they are on. So we're going to look at each one and talk about how we can observe these things. All right, element 1, safe and responsive environment. So what is it? This tells you exactly what it is. It looks at the overall social and emotional quality of a classroom, the relationships between teachers and children, those expressions of emotions, how teachers establish and promote a positive climate for learning through their daily interactions with children. So this is all about those relationships. You can kind of feel it when you walk into a classroom. So to create that safe and responsive climate, the teachers, the educators, any adults in the classrooms are making those connections with the children. They're responding to their needs and their interests, their ideas, and they're taking every opportunity that they can to build that trust, provide reassurance, and develop nurturing relationships so they can support the learning. So this is really key, and there's a reason that it's number 1 on here, because if this is rated lower on the assessment, that needs to be addressed. It comes really, none of the other elements can really be scored high unless this is scored high. So this is really key, and there's a reason we start with this. So safe and responsive climate. And then you can see here that the reason it matters is that research indicates that relationships with caring, responsive adults and positive experience in the first years of life build those strong brain architecture leading to children's joy-filled learning and healthy development. It is so critical for learning that they have those relationships. All right, so let's see, sorry. All right, so keeping this in mind about what it is, why it matters, I want to show you a video and just take a look and see if what is safe and responsive about this. Okay, so we're looking at this interaction with this child. I'm going to hit play here, and then I'm going to ask you guys what you notice.
You ready to see your friends this morning, Daniel? Look at all your friends who are already here waiting on you, Daniel. Let's go tell your friends good morning. Let's tell your friends good morning. Come on. Say good morning, Aubrey. Look, and Miss Melody is here already. Look, and there's Kai and Brooklyn and Kaylee. All your friends were waiting on you. They say good morning. Say hello, everybody. Yes. Look, your friends are saying good morning to you, Daniel. Miss Melody is saying good morning. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? Choo choo. Yeah.
All right. Good morning, Daniel. He's so cute. All right. What did you guys notice? And you can put in the chat or you can unmute. What is safe and responsive about this interaction with Daniel? Anybody want to unmute? We can hear your voice.
At child's level, I see. Thank you, Amanda. So the teacher was at the child's level, holding Daniel at his level.
Attentive.
Welcoming the child. Yep.
Oh, smiles. Yes.
Using his name, being respectful, kind and welcoming tone.
I wanted to go to that classroom. It was very welcoming.
Smiling. Yep. From the teacher and the child.
All right. Let's take a look at the next video. We're going to do the same thing. Tell me what you notice.
Were you sad? Why were you sad? Can you explain to me why you were sad? Could it be because you didn't get a turn to use the microphone? So tell me that so I can understand. Okay, all right. But next time I need you to calm your body because I don't understand when you're not using your words, okay? All right. So would you like to see the microphone? Okay, would you like me to use the microphone and you can sing it to me in my ear? Okay, would that make you feel better? Okay, let's stand up. Can you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth? Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Calm your body. You ready? Okay, can I see a smile? Yay, big smile. Okay, come on.
All right. I don't know about you guys, but I was breathing in and breathing out. I was relaxing my body. That was very encouraging. What did you notice in this interaction that would be considered a safe and responsive climate?
Comforting and reassuring the student. Words to express. The teacher, gave the child some words to express. Soft tone, breathing techniques, giving choice. Holding the child close. Yep, these are all good things that are making the environment safe and responsive. Comforting, soft tone, explaining to the child.
All right. All right. In this next one.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Good observations, guys.
Yes. All right. So we're going to play one more video for safe and responsive climate. And we're just trying to give you all some examples from different age groups here.
Did you sleep well? Did you have any dreams or anything? No dreams this time? I thought queens and princes always dream. Not this time. You did have one? Who was in there? Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Who was in that dream? I'm very, very curious. I was in it. What happened, girl? I was the best teacher. That's not a dream. That's reality.
I love that. All right.
Building
So what did you
confidence.
notice about those interactions?
Showing interest. Yes, it was funny. It was. We have to toot our own horn sometimes, y'all. That was good. And the
I
child
could really feel the connection between the
Yep.
adult and the child. You could
encouraging
feel it.
her to open up. Yep.
Mhm.
Gave her time. She kept interacting, kind, repeating the words.
Mhm.
There's definitely a bond. Yep. Showed interest, asking her about pre-existing relationship. That was evident. Yep. Positive body language and words.
These are great. All right. So this page is just to show you that there are courses related to this particular element. So when we're looking at safe and responsive climate, we can find out more information, learn about what that looks like. And this is going to help you when you're setting goals with your teachers so that you can help your teachers to have more transformative practices. And in order to do that, we have these courses under infants and toddlers. Teachers can take, and yourselves can take Build My Brain, Power of Language, Talk with Me, Read with Me, parts 1 and 2, Rhyme with Me, Talk with Me, Baby. And then under preschool and pre-K, we have the Build My Brain, Meaningful Conversations, Transforming Storytime, supporting dual language learners right from the start, and connecting those dots for dual language learners throughout the day. And then, of course, we have trauma-informed practices, and that's for any age group and any adult to take who are involved with children. So those are just a reminder of those courses that are related. And then you can also learn more. And we're just sharing this page so that you can see that there are links and there are other ways to learn more about this outside of Cox Campus. This is research-based information. Some of you may have heard of responsive classroom or conscious discipline. So in that document, a closer look at the elements, you will see this page where it shows learn more. So just kind of wanted to share that. So now we're looking at the ECM 2.0, the Ecosystem Construction Measure. This is what you're going to use to measure your classroom. So between now and our meeting in March, this is part of your task to go to your classrooms and look at each of these elements, of these 3 elements within the climate cluster. And so this is what it looks like for safe and responsive climate. And we looked at this in the intro, but I want to make sure we go through this. So when you go in the classroom, how does it look like if it's emerging? There's minimal evidence across the classroom of safe and responsive climate for children. If there's minimal evidence, it's a 1. Teachers sometimes use negative language or harsh tone of voice. So that's a 1. And then you can see as it moves on to develop it, it could get a 1.5 if it's in between. But if it's a 2, you might see occasional. So you'll see in the 2s some evidence, occasionally welcoming, occasionally acknowledge. So that's kind of right in the middle. We're seeing some of it. It's occasional, but establish. I want to ask you, Jennifer, when you walk into a classroom that is established and safe and responsive, what do you notice? What are some things that you notice when you've gone in your classrooms and at your sites?
I'm seeing a huge combination of smiles. I'm seeing teachers at eye level with the children. I'm hearing positive language being used, that respectful language, eye contact, names. There's even touch. So the teachers and the children feel comfortable sitting with each other, reaching, and giving hugs. There's a consistency across the board, from peer to peer and teachers to children. And it's just an overall good experience. Everything is warm and friendly. It's everything in this box here, basically, and established and more. So
Wow.
if you see all of this, this is definitely going to be a 3.
Wow. I hear it. What it sounds like, what you're describing sounds like a family to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like it has that feel of a
Strong sense
family.
of community in that classroom where everybody
Wow.
is respectful and treats each other, with kindness. There's a lot of individuality that is respected and considered in the classroom.
I like that you mentioned community. I want to ask you all, and you can put in the chat or you can unmute. What kinds of things do you experience in your life, in your communities? It might be your neighborhood, your church, your any other faith that you might be a part of, your work environment. What kinds of things in these different communities, a club, a sorority, fraternity, anything that you're involved with, what feeling words come to mind? Let me just ask you that. So you can put feeling words in the chat or you can unmute. How does it feel to be a part of a community? Loving,
Love,
safe, belonging.
acceptance, unity. Mm-hmm.
So of course we want this for our children, and we want this for our future, and we want our children to feel like when they go to school every day,
Accepted.
to be a part of a group, to feel connected and fulfilled and accepted and blessed and all these things I'm seeing. I love these words. Thank you all. All right, so here's the observation form. It looks similar to what we were just looking at with the different descriptions, but it's your opportunity to write your notes. So when you go in the classroom, take the last page with you, which looks like that from the ECM, and then also take your observation form with you, because you want to take notes on the things that you're seeing, and you can put them under each area. You can write the numbers down. It's just an opportunity for you to take your notes. That way, when you go back and you're looking over your notes, and if you can also take a video and look over that and go back over it. So there are different ways to observe. Do you guys have any questions so far about the observation form and the last page where it breaks it down? Is this clear? Does it make sense? See some nods, maybe get some thumbs up. Yes, makes sense. No questions. Okay. All right. Just wanted to check in on that. And some of you might already be thinking about some of the classrooms that you see and where they might fall in this. So that's good. That's kind of where we want to get your mindset looking at those videos. So I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer for the next element.
All right, guys. So thanks, Nathan. We are at element 2 of our climate cluster, which is called culturally responsive and preserving environment. All right, so we're going to start things off by describing what that is. So to make learning experiences more relevant and foster children's critical capacity to share their lives in our world, an early learning environment must take into account a child's culture, their prior experiences in a frame of references. So in culturally responsive and preserving classrooms, teachers create that equity as they value and integrate children's cultures, languages, history, abilities, interests, and identity. And they engage with children on an authentic state and the families in their communities. So teachers should be supporting children to develop confidence and pride in their identity. So you want to make sure that you're celebrating diversity in your classrooms, you're recognizing some unfairness, and you're building skills to reject injustice. So teachers also examine those identities and reflect on potential biases that might interfere with how they perceive, treat, and interact with children and families. So not only is this for the children, but the teachers also have to really look within themselves and ask themselves questions that they need to reflect on so that they can be as positive and respectful and considerate for children's cultures and backgrounds. So to create a culturally responsive and preserving environment, teachers systematically and authentically weave in aspects of children's families, cultures into the curriculum, also the activities and the environment. So all children see themselves reflected in that environment. So these are things that we'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. So this here is going to show you a little bit about what it looks like when you go into that classroom that is going to have a more cultural and preserving environment. So your lesson plans are going to include ways to explore identity. So you'll have things that describe the child's friends in the classroom, themselves, people around the world. You'll have information from the families. So you're going to maybe send out a survey or a questionnaire to the families to gather that information so that you can prep your classroom and your lesson plans to reflect the results or the answers that you get from the families. The staff is going to frequently research and learn about characteristics and issues related to the cultural backgrounds. So teachers, you'll have a little homework to do as well on your children. Elements related to the children's languages and cultures are going to be consistently integrated in the routines that you do with your children and the curriculum. So for example, you'll have good morning songs, greetings in different languages, not just the English language. You'll use some phrases, some words, and even songs in that child's first language. You'll have planned and informal opportunities to talk about similarities and differences between people. So you can include that in your whole group discussions, your small group discussions with your children. And lastly, the adults will engage in ongoing reflection. So this is always checking in with yourself. How do I, perceive my children in my classroom, and what do I think about that? Asking yourself those questions to examine your own stance and explore opportunities for personal growth. So if you don't know something about one of your children's backgrounds, how can I grow? What can I do so that I can connect better with my children?
Jennifer, I just want to ask, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, this is great because it's so intentional. It's not just, oh, I'm walking in the classroom and I'm noticing these things. That's part of it. I can see by walking in a classroom, but it's what are you doing to plan for this? It's a way to, it's progress monitoring. If you do a survey and you're finding out from the parents information and you're going back and looking at it, it's similar to our progress monitoring cycle and how we plan and then observe and analyze and then use that to make plans again. But I do have a question. Where can I find this survey, Family Language and Culture Survey?
It's on our Cox website. So thanks for asking that question in case anybody was wondering. So the Family Language and Culture Survey, you can put in our search box on the Cox Campus website and it will pull up and you can download it for free. So if you are interested in, thinking of using a survey for your program, there's already one that you can download and use it at your leisure. So thanks for asking that question.
That sounds like a way to go ahead, like start setting some goals by starting putting those surveys out. That's a good goal, actually. And we're gonna talk about setting those goals next time we meet, but just kind of getting the frame of that mind. And then is the classroom language plan also on Cox Campus?
That is there as well. And also Shantae, our wonderful helper in the chat, she linked it for you guys so you can click on that link and download a copy, save it for your organization. And so you can also put classroom language plan in our search box on Cox Campus and it will pull up so you can download it for free.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Shantae.
You're welcome. Okay, so on this slide here, these are some additional bullets for you to have a better idea on what to look for when you do your assessment in your classrooms. So when you are assessing your physical environments, these are some of the things that you want to look for. The music, the CDs, I don't know, maybe a cassette if they are still using that. Books. So you want to include family books, teacher-made books, materials that reflect children's families, their cultures, photographs, posters, real objects. So some people have, these traditional artifacts that they use. They may be willing to share some of those things with their child's classroom. So, feel free to ask families, is there anything at home that is significant and you're willing to share? And we can maybe put it in a special place in our classroom. That way it can always be on display. Also teacher, child, and family interactions. So asking families, how do you properly pronounce your child's name or your family's last name? Family partnerships are evident in the classroom when you do your home visits, when you ask families to come in and participate in the classroom. If you have, mom and muffins or dads and donuts, those days, encourage families to come so that you can learn more about them, have them, record or read stories to the classrooms. Together with the community, children and teachers work to stand up for things they believe in. So if there's things that you want to advocate and you want to, maybe have your children participate in those type of things in the community, these are great opportunities for you to do that. And just encouraging children to always, think about diversity and how can we represent that in our classroom. So teaching them rich vocabulary about human differences and samenesses.
And I would actually love to hear from you guys as we continue. You can put in the chat some things that you're already seeing in your classrooms. So if maybe these examples are your own, I'd love to just hear so everybody can see from our network here what's going on in these classrooms that you might already be doing. I'd love to see that.
Okay, and this here is just an example of a teacher. She has an All About Me book. She had the families and the children create at home and bring them back. So she has them on display in her classroom. So these are some homemade books about your children. And this here is another picture of a dramatic play area in a preschool classroom. And this little girl is actually making tortillas because they have the tortilla toy-like version materials or ingredients that she can use to make, because she does this at home. And so bringing home into the classroom is a great way to help children feel more a part of their classroom when there's things that they can recognize and participate in.
And then we have a quick video here for you guys to look at. It's real quick, but just take a look at the children, the classroom, and see what you notice about this being a culturally responsive and preserving environment.
Her routine. How do you feel today? How do you feel today? We all want to know how you feel today. Starting the meeting with a predictable song is also a good example of a routine. The first E is for explore, what the children care about. Teachers ask questions that invite children to share.
On top of me, 'cause she loves me.
Language.
Carmen, who is your special friend?
Then Victoria, because we play together, but sometimes she gets on top of me because she loves me.
So remember, Victoria is Carmen's little sister.
Yes.
And so you're saying that sometimes she's little, so she climbs on you. And how do you feel when she does that?
Happy.
The second
All right, so that was just some information from our dual language learners course, and it's an acronym called Greet Me. And when they do the how do you feel today, they also do it in different languages. So just think of ways that you can involve children with their own language and culture in your classroom. Let's see.
Cool. Thank you. And then this here is some connected Cox Campus courses and resources that go along with this element. So for infant and toddler teachers, you would be interested in taking Build My Brain, Power of Language, Talk With Me, Read With Me, and Talk With Me Baby. And if you're a preschool or a pre-K teacher, your courses would be Meaningful Conversations, supporting dual language learners right from the start, and connecting the dots for dual language learners throughout the day. And then there's some additional resources. As we mentioned earlier, you can check out coxcampus.org and navigate through our resource library.
Awesome. And I love seeing these ideas, things that you're doing
Yeah.
at your sites, recipes, books and materials, asking families to make a page for a scrapbook.
Mhm.
Involving the families is so key there.
Those All About Me posters, yep, of course. And keep those on display all year, not just the first quarter of the year, but all year, and encourage families to add things. If there's a new sibling, that wasn't there in August, but now he or she is there in, March, ask mom and dad to share a baby picture that they can add to that All About Me poster. And then this slide here is the Learn More. So these are some additional books and materials that you can use if you want to learn more about encouraging and promoting a more culturally and preserving environment at your sites. Okay, so we are now going back to that ecosystem construction measure. So we did encourage everyone to bring a blank copy so that you can follow along. So I hope that you have it. If not, it should have been linked in the chat. But here is the ratings for this element. So as mentioned before, if you are seeing minimal evidence across classrooms, this would be a 1. So this is teachers or staff are rarely aware of the languages and cultures of the children. There's minimal reflection of children's cultures and languages. Hardly any physical environment or materials changed in the classroom, and there's minimal efforts to include culturally responsive and preserving activities in the curriculum. So if this is what is happening in your classrooms now, then you would rate it as a 1. Okay.
And that's okay. That's just a place to start, right?
Yeah.
If that's where we are, then that's just where we start
you
from.
are, and it's okay. Yep. So
Room
we
to
have
grow.
developing. This is where you have some of the evidence evident in the classroom. So although there's no formal process in place for the staff to gather the information, staff still is aware of some of the languages and some of the cultures represented in the classroom. So if you don't have a formal process, like we mentioned with the family language culture surveys, using that document will help your organization now put something in process for you to use. And if it's established, this means that you do have a systematic process in place to collect information. So you may be using our survey, on a regular basis, or something similar. Staff use information obtained from the children's languages and consistently integrate them in the elements in the daily routines. So this is staff singing those good morning songs in different languages every day, consistently. Staff is consistently partnering with families. So getting information about the culture and the language and using those things in the common spaces in the classroom all year long. Not just during, International Month or not just during Heritage Month, but throughout the year. All year, we're celebrating and honoring these children's cultures and languages and backgrounds. And the last one, it's kind of cut off, but if you have your ECM, this one here is the one that's always just as important. Staff frequently researching and learning about those characteristics and issues related to cultural backgrounds of children in your classroom. So don't forget that piece, guys. Always include yourselves as learners and always interested in your children's backgrounds and how you can be a part of that.
And I want to point out here, Jennifer, I'm noticing that if I walk into a classroom and I look around and I see the books, I see music, I see materials, it still might just be a 2 because at the bottom of 2, that's there. There are books, there are music, materials, some children's culture and language evident in the classroom. But if we're not really systematically planning and reaching out to families, then it takes a little more to get to a 3. And what I've noticed observing at some partner sites, that if I go in and I don't know the background to what they've got going on, I'll ask those questions to the teacher or to the mentor teacher, the director, tell me about what things you're doing to learn from families, to really have an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcome. And if it's like, well, we've got some books, culture books, that's still might not be.
Yeah. There's more than that, but it's definitely a start. And so
that's right.
If you are in the developing stage, keep going, keep striving. There's more that you can be doing. Remember, lesson plans need to be reflected. We need to have activities on a weekly basis that includes, ways that you're incorporating your children's cultures and backgrounds. Okay. And this is the observation form that you want to bring into the classroom so you can take notes on where your classrooms are. Okay. Element 3, consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. So what this is this element looks for evidence of established routines, comforting rituals, and well-planned transitions in the classroom. So we know that a child's day is filled with routines such as arrival time, cleanup time, nap time, meal time. And this provides a sense of order for the children because at this age, they're typically not telling time. And so routines need to be put in place so that children can get used of how things are planned out throughout the day. So you'll have rituals such as the way that you start your day. Every morning, we start with a greeting song, making every day special, unique, but still very consistent. These rituals deepen connections, they create that community, and they build an inclusive culture of belonging. So making children feel a part of is where the rituals play a part. Transitions are those inevitable moments when children move from one activity to another. So from centers to small groups, from outdoor play to lunchtime. These are rooted in care, connection, and predictability. And these are the practices that all contribute to giving children a sense of security, stability, and support for their learning, independence, and their confidence. So why is that important? Consistent routines, rituals, and transitions are important because they provide that framework for children's expectations throughout the day. This helps them reduce their anxiety, their stress, because little ones can also experience stress as well, just like adults. But if we're consistent in our routines, in our rituals and transitions with them, this can lower their stress level and help them to be more productive and more interactive in their day. And learning takes place in a context of responsive interactions. So where routines and activities build and support language development throughout your day. Consistent routines, rituals, and transitions are super necessary for all children, not just certain children, but all children. And it's very critical for those who have experienced or currently experiencing a range of traumas, adverse childhood experiences. So children that are not used to routines at home, routines are very important at school. As nurturing relationships develop, children feel safe to explore and take those good risks at school. So in spaces where supports are offered, young children can develop that agency, leadership, and creativity that we all want them to have.
All right.
So this here is just going to show you basically what it looks like for adults and what it looks like for children. So this is in your closer look document. So I'm not going to read them all, but just to kind of give you a couple of things to look for when you're in the classroom. So you're looking for, with the adults, if they're clear, development of appropriate expectations made for the children. Are the routines marked out with predictable and joyful songs and meaningful conversations? So at diaper changing time, hand washing time, are you hearing that hand washing song? Are you hearing teachers talk to babies when they're changing the diapers? Create rituals to honor and celebrate children in a positive way. So wishing those children that are not at school, oh, let's sing something, a chant or something, or wish them well. We wish that they're okay, and we wish them, they come back to school. Celebrating birthdays. If you know that, in this child's culture, they celebrate birthdays, then let's do something special to celebrate that. But if not, let's respect that and let's honor that that child's traditions. Consistently use the rituals so that children can grow to expect them, fostering a sense of security. Prepare materials in advance to minimize children sitting around and waiting. So these are the things that you want to look for when you're in the classroom. Is the teacher, doing last minute preps right before the activity versus her being able to just go to her designated area, grab the items, and begin the activity? Using a visual schedule. So you notice in the classroom that there's a visual schedule. The teacher uses it. She, encourages children to pay attention to it. There's cleanup songs, either, using audio or they're singing the cleanup songs. And then for children, exercising agency, the children know what to expect. So when the teacher makes an announcement in the classroom, paying attention to how children move. So are they confused? Maybe, do they freeze? Do they know, where to go when this is mentioned? Anticipate and easily follow the classroom process with minimal direction from the teachers. So the teacher can maybe say, just using her finger up in the air and calling all the children's attention. The children know exactly what that means because there's a consistency. The teacher does it every single time. And actively engaged and participate in classroom rituals. Pay attention to see if children know what to do, what to say when the teacher is, saying certain things or calling on certain children. Do they know how to participate? Okay, and this here is the practice in action. So you can see an infant teacher at the changing table with the child. Just pay attention for things that you noticed about their routine together.
And you guys can unmute afterwards, or you can put in the chat while you're watching the things that you notice about these routines, rituals, transitions.
Hey, ready for our favorite? Skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Now you already know that. I love you in the morning. I love you in the afternoon. I love you in the evening. And underneath the moon, so skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. How about that?
How about that? What did you guys see? What did you notice?
Her excitement. Yep. Who knew it could be so fun to change a diaper? All right. Her genuine enjoyment, direct eye contact. Good. Yes. All those things were visible and evident. And then here, these are your connected Cox Campus courses and resources that relate to this element. So you have the ecosystem approach, which is also the course that goes with this particular cohort. So taking this course is going to benefit you as well. And then some of the resources that we have on Cox Campus are our Rollins Rhyme Collection, the morning meeting, the Greet Me poster, and supporting DLLs with visuals during transitions. And we also have transition activity songs. So if you put in any of these into our search box on Cox Campus, you'll be able to download and print out all of these items for free.
I was just thinking about how all three of these elements go together to make that one cluster. If I walk into a classroom and I see a rug song and they're calling the children to the rug and the children know that that's the song and they come and sit down, then they do it in all the languages of the children and they're all represented, then we really are kind of seeing a safe and responsive climate. We're seeing culturally responsive and preserving environment. And then we're also seeing those routines and rituals and transitions in place, and they know what to expect. So just kind of thinking of that in terms of a cluster, how you can see all those things all together.
Yep, they all build on each other, all of them. So they basically work, hand in hand. And this is our Learn More. So if you are interested in rituals and routines, this is a book that you can find. It's called Supporting Infants and Toddlers and Their Families. And then there's also the responsiveclassroom.org website and Conscious Discipline. And I actually have the I Love You Rituals book, and it's amazing, guys. It comes in English and Spanish, and you can, try different ones. If your children do well with it, then just take it, own it, and make it, become your ritual for your classroom. So these are some things that you guys can use. Okay. Okay, and this here is this page, the ratings page. So if you see minimal evidence, then that means there's no defined daily schedule, or it's rarely followed if there is one. Sometimes we do see classrooms that have beautiful daily schedules posted, but teachers are a little out of whack, not really following it as well. If that's the case, then there may be a rating of a 1. Teachers rarely implement the intentional and organized transitions to move or guide their children. There's rarely any rituals incorporated, or the environment may seem chaotic at times. So if this is any of the evidence that you're seeing in your classrooms, then this would be considered a 1. And then for developing, you'll see a little bit of some occasional daily schedule being set, but it's inconsistently followed. You have evidence of routines and some rituals that mark the day. Teachers occasionally implement the intentional and organized transitions, and then children sometimes appear lost or unsure of the expectations. So they're not really clear on what they should be doing. So these are some of the classrooms where you see children just kind of looking around, or they're looking up at the adult because they really don't know where to go or what to do. And then established, this is your strong evidence. So the daily schedule is used consistently and followed in the classroom. Rituals and routines are consistently used and focused on building community, fostering joy in the classroom, so that positive vibes, a good realm. Transitions are consistently used to promote an effective use of children's time. So you're not losing any instructional time or, downtime, because there's something for the children to do consistently throughout the day. Teachers consistently provide clear expectations as to what the children can and should do during these different times of the day. And then children participate in and may take leadership within the routines. So you'll have your line leaders, you'll have your teacher assistants, you'll have your center inspector. Children will have jobs and things that they can commit to throughout the day, just to keep the day going by much smoother and more productive. And this is an example of your observation form.
All right. So this is the part where it's time to take note because this is our task for the next month. So the part of within the ECM 2.0, there's a site joint action plan. So you'll scroll down to that or print that out, and you're going to use it to do after you do your observations. So you're going to take your observations and you're going to use it to set goals. So when we come back, we're going to do this. So I just want you to have it prepared. I want you to have a copy, whether it's digital or printed out, so that you're prepared to do this next time. So in the meantime, you're doing those observations that we talked about today, but we're coming back to start talking about goals. So you can do your homework ahead of time and write in some goals for yourself, but we're going to come together. And the first part of our meeting in March is going to be bring in what we have with our ratings so that we can work together to come up with goals for our individual sites and share out. And so that'll be that opportunity. This is just an example. These are action steps. And your action steps are going to be related to what's relevant to your site and your teachers and your classrooms. But the main thing we're shooting for is that transformative teaching practices and those child outcomes related to this cluster. So we're only observing those 3 elements, coming back, and we're going to fill out joint action plans and talk about that. And then we'll use the rest of the meeting to go over the second cluster. But it's going to be a little bit different than today because we've already gone over the first cluster. So in the second cluster, we're going to kind of move through it at the end of the meeting. The first part of the meeting, we're using that session to set goals and making a joint action plan.
Yes. If you have any questions for us, please put them in the chat or unmute at this
Yeah.
time.
Are there any questions about this joint action plan?
Does everybody feel good about going out and doing your observations using the ECM observation form and feel good about the ratings? I see some thumbs up. See yes. Good.
All right. And if you have any questions or anything comes up, write them down.
Yeah.
We want to talk about them. We want to engage in them. We want your feedback on how this is working. Any questions, anything that stumps you, and you just bring it to that next meeting because that's an opportunity to have that discussion. So in our next meeting, so between now and then, make sure you complete that course, the ecosystem course, or review it. Review that ECM 2.0, review a closer look document, and then go and assess your classrooms. If you just choose one classroom to focus in on, that is fine. If you want to do all your classrooms, 2 classrooms, whatever your choice, this is for you to practice this and work on building those goals. So you're assessing it, you're bringing those scores back, and then bring those ratings, the cluster 1 ratings for those 3 elements we talked about today. That is on March the 7th. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then bring your site joint action plan template. So that is on Cox Campus. Are there any remaining questions before we move out? Do me a favor and raise your hand if you're going to be here in March.
Hey, awesome. Good. We want to see you all back. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.